Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is August 21st, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Made it through another hot one. Overall, the day was solid, kind of slow, but like steady. Like there was steady work, so I stayed busy, and I think that's always like the recipe for a good day. Just consistent work. You're in it. You eventually get out of it, and yada yada. You're back home, so that's nice. That's been good. Back to sweating a little bit more, which is what it is. I'm officially at that point now where I'm yearning for fall. Like I'm ready for it. It's gonna be nice. September vibes are always cool too. Of course, I'm a Virgo, so it's gonna be a fun month. Hopefully, I'm rooting for that. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Let's see, food corner. I had a little interesting dinner. I got pretzel buns for like burgers, sandwiches, whatever. And the idea was what I landed on finally was I'm gonna make a burger and I'm gonna make a turkey slider and or a turkey sandwich. I'll get to why I just said slider on accident. So I go to pull them out to like make the sandwiches, getting everything together, everything's heating up, and I look at them and I'm just like, just so mad at myself because I had realized I was like being overly picky, I guess, and I wanted to get the perfect ones. And mind you, these pretzel rolls, these pretzel buns are like Hawaiian rolls. So I'm like, yeah, these are quality things. Like I wanted them to be good. So I was just being ultra picky, and I accidentally went like too far back, picked out a package, and the package I picked were the slider versions. And I was like, oh no. So, I looked at them, I pull them out, and I realized like, okay, you can cut them and they stay in like blocked squares still, so like everything's fine. So I just made one like four bun burger, and then I made like two little side sliders, and it worked out. So I had that, and I had onion rings. I used the rest of my onion rings, and it was yummy. It was overall really great. So despite me being a head ass. Let's see here. I don't think there's really anything else to report on the me side, on the me corner. So let's go ahead and run down some news. After I, take my little startup break. That's right. I take a break at the start. I'm crazy like that. I'm wild like that. Okay. Let's start with some weather news that I want to just kind of hop on real quick. From the Associated Press, Hillary drenched deserts and flooded roadways in California. Now it's threatening Oregon and Idaho. Now, they're not talking about Hillary Clinton. No, this is it was initially Hurricane Hillary that then got downgraded to a tropical storm. I believe it hit Mexico first, and then like from there, yeah, from Baja California Peninsula, it worked its way up, hit California. This was like pretty unprecedented. I believe not since like the 1950s had they had rain like this. They got years worth of rain in like one day. Um, like I've heard of like desert areas like just getting like pretty much instantly flooded because like the topsoil just can't handle it. Like, all this rain just dumps on it, immediately just starts flooding because it's just not holding, sticking, being saturated by anything on the ground. Also, just the wind, stuff like that. Hitting houses. Just a lot of talks of damage and stuff like that. Luckily, so far, hopefully the good news is there's been a like zero to no like death toll here. Hopefully it stays that way as the storm kind of keeps progressing. But yeah, on top of that, I believe Sunday they hit California got hit with like an earthquake. like 5 point something, so that's some news that happened. Talk about the weather. Let's see here. Then let's shift back to international news from the BBC News. Chernihiv. Russian missile strike kills 7 and injures 144, Ukraine says. Let's see here. 7 people, including a 6-year-old girl, were killed when a Russian missile struck a theater in the northern Ukraine city of Chernihiv on Saturday morning. 15 children were among 144 wounded. At least 25 people were in the hospital. It's believed that the target was a theater that was hosting a gathering of drone manufacturers. That was told or stated by the acting mayor of Chernihiv. I understand that their aim was a military event taking place in the building of the drama theater, and that it was their target. But it is clear that the Russians launching those missiles and those giving them orders in the middle of the day to the civilian city realize that the victims will be primarily civilians. There's no other way to interpret it other than a war crime against civilians. Yet another Russian war crime, he added. Which I agree thoroughly. It's very unfortunate. Like there's just so many of these stories. Some I've gotten sadly in the habit of missing, just because there's so much other news. But this is a conflict that is constantly raging on, constantly just collecting bodies. Sadly. Let's see here. There is another side here that I wanted to cover some other news in this article. Let's see here. Elsewhere, Russia has claimed that a Ukrainian drone hit a military airfield in the northwest Novgorod region, causing a fire that was quickly put out. One plane was damaged, but no casualties have been reported, it added. Ukraine has not commented on the alleged drone attack. Meanwhile, Kyiv's Air Force said the Ukrainian military had shot down 15 out of the 17 Iranian-made Shahed drones launched by Moscow in an overnight strike. All right, so there you go. There are some Ukraine-Russia updates from the field, from what's going on. I mean, sadly, the field is all of Ukraine. All right. Let's see. Let's talk about some other sad, fucked up news. From CBS News. They fired on us like rain. Saudi border guards killed hundreds of Ethiopian migrants. Human Rights Watch says. Saudi border guards fired like rain on Ethiopian migrants trying to cross into the Gulf Kingdom from Yemen, killing hundreds since last year, HRW said in a report on Monday. The allegations described as unfounded by a Saudi government source point to a significant escalation of abuses along the perilous route from the Horn of Africa to Saudi Arabia, where hundreds of thousands of Ethiopians live and work. One 20-year-old woman from Ethiopia's Oromia region, interviewed by HRW, said Saudi border guards opened fire on a group of migrants they had just released from custody. I saw a guy coming for help. He lost both of his legs. He was screaming. He was saying, "Are you leaving me here? Please don't leave me." We couldn't help him because we were running for our lives. Now, something too that just also helps validate this description. I know I've talked about things like defectors from North Korea, where sometimes that can feel a little bit cooked, like they're just making that up. But there are multiple accounts like this. There is video that corroborates this. There's literally satellite footage that also corroborates and backs this kind of shit up. So it just really hammers it all home. And it's like, look, you can't deny that this is some shit that's happening. Also, it's a shame that you just have Saudi just oh no, that's unfounded. We can't confirm that. And it's like, we can. It's literally, there's proof here. And they're just going to deny it. We've talked about migration a lot on this podcast. We will be doing that a lot. It is sad and unfortunate when you literally have it. Because, I mean, like, we've talked about the shit with Greece, but like the pushback, that has its own kind of fucked up thing. The situation with migrant boats, and you're literally like, you're forcing a tow, and then that fucks up the boat, and then these people die, and you knew and watched that shit the whole fucking time. That's fucked up. But literally putting arms to people trying to cross to through your country, whatever, what have you, like that's monstrous. That's barbaric. That's fucked up. You know, I don't know. Like it upsets me to no fucking end that it just seems like any and all countries just boil down to this point. You know, like you have to secure your borders at any fucking cost, and yeah, that's just always gonna make me mad. It's always gonna make me fucking upset. And it's so frustrating because what is another superpower like the U.S. to do, the quote unquote police of the world? They're gonna tell them like, oh, you guys better do right, like, but at the end of the day, you're gonna like fist bump, MBS, Mom Ben Salman, whatever, you're gonna do what you need to do to get your shit. And you're not going to care about any of the bodies along the way. You're going to highlight the atrocities like the Jamal bin Khashoggi thing, the journalist that was killed. But that's it. We're going to talk, and they're going to move on, and you're still going to do the same shit. Or what? You're going to sanction, which I don't think I've ever heard of them sanctioning Saudi Arabia. I mean, maybe it's happened. I don't know. But what is that going to do? We've talked about sanctions a lot on this podcast. So yeah, it frustrates me to see a world like this, no matter what country you go to. It's just like, instead of, being open to people who are in need, and to an extent, like there's always that initial introduction, like, oh no, we'll work with you, we'll make that happen because it happens here. There was agreements made, but those promises aren't kept. And then if they are, then it's like over time, then there's like resentment. And then you just see the changes happening. And then all of a sudden, instead of being so welcoming, you now have, once again, hard borders where you're trying to force people out, keep people out. So yeah, I mean, all I can really fucking do is talk about it, highlight the shit. So yeah, let me move off of this shit before I get any hotter under the collar. But yeah, I mean, once I got to the point where we're like, yeah, like there's literally satellite, we can run the shit down each of these events. Like there's like 28 times where you've done like explosive weapons. Like what the fuck? Like people are losing their legs, their hands, just because they want to live a better life. They want to get out of a fucked up situation, and you are becoming a now other fucked up situation. It's fucking sad. All right. Now that we are moving into another better story, the pastures are not greener here, but on to the next. From the Associated Press, British nurse Lucy Letby imprisoned for life in murders of 7 babies and attempted murders of 6. A former neonatal nurse convicted of murdering 7 babies in her care and trying to kill 6 others at a hospital in northern England was sentenced Monday to life in prison with no chance of release by a judge who said she was cruel, cunning, and callous, and acted with malevolence bordering sadism. So she refused to show up for her sentencing, but essentially the judge talked like he was talking to her directly, and addressed the jury, addressed the family of the victims. But yeah, she's not getting out, period. Point blank. Essentially, I think she was given life for all of the sentences, at least for the 7 sentences of death. It might have just been for all of it, but point blank, period. She's not getting out. There's no chance of parole. She's in there like swimwear. And yeah, like I said, she couldn't even face the victims, the people, the judge. She's just gonna rot in jail. Maybe one day she'll sit and give some fucking shitbag interview where she says some semblance of a truth. Maybe, I don't fucking know. Like, I truly just want to hear the why, but I think last time I heard she was just trying to say that it wasn't her. Like, she was just looking after these premature babies, and this she grieved, like they grieved. She was sad, and then fuck that shit, man. This is just a lose scenario at the end of the day. I mean, justice is served. That's that. We can at least put a nail in the coffin here. That being said, I mean, if there is any update on like prosecution or fines, whatever, against any of these hospitals or whatever, or the hospital where she worked at, my bad. Just because there was literally situations where people were telling management, like, look, something is wrong here, and the common denominator is let be. And they're like, okay, and they like just didn't push it. They just didn't inquire it until it was way too fucking late. Like it's fucking sad. Just this woman did a lot of damage. But yeah, let's move along. We got one more story to cover. Whew. All right. You know me. I'm taking my last little break, and then we'll close it out. All right. Now I gotta preface. This is at this point kind of old news. I feel like this story is about like a week, maybe even a week and a half old. But I just finally said, fuck it, I'm gonna cover it. From CNN, woman at the center of deadly poisoning case says she bought mushrooms from grocer and supermarket. Man, now I love mushrooms as much as the next guy. For reasons, and also, it's good food for sure. You pair it with the right thing, it's super yummy. Also, another thing I gotta tell you guys, gals, MBs, a big desire for me is to have a beef Wellington. Technically, by the number, I've had a mini beef Wellington, aka like a little appetizer bite-sized thing. But I want to sit down and have a beef Wellington. Now, why am I talking about mushrooms? Why am I talking about beef Wellington? Well, it's looking like they were used as a murder weapon. So, I'm a bit fucked up. I'm sad. I'm shambles just about that alone. Like, this is not how you fucking get down. But let's just get into it. Let's just talk about it. Let's chop it up. Roll it up. There's a lot of processes to making a beef Wellington. There's a lot going on here. Let's see. The woman at the center of a suspected mushroom poisoning case that killed 3 people in Australia, claims she bought the ingredients from 2 separate stores, according to a statement she gave to police cited by public broadcaster ABC. Erin Patterson, 48 years old, says she wants to clear up the record because she had become extremely stressed and overwhelmed by the deaths of her loved ones. She was quoted as saying in a statement to police cited by ABC on Monday, Patterson served a home-cooked meal to former, and I feel like this is very key here, to former parents-in-law Don and Gail Patterson, Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson, and Heather's husband Ian Wilkinson, who were guests at her home in the rural town of Leongatha on July 29th. I scrolled down too far. According to the Victoria Police, among the 4 relatives who came for lunch, 3 of them died with symptoms of death cap mushroom poisoning, police said during a press briefing last week. 1 remained under critical condition in the hospital. Let's see here. But Patterson is essentially saying that she got dried mushrooms from an Asian grocer in Melbourne months ago and button mushrooms from a supermarket chain more recently. And she said that she used both of them to cook the beef Wellington. Mind you, it's not mentioned in this article, but I believe that she did not eat said beef Wellington. And also she said that her children ate the beef Wellington and they didn't get sick, but upon further questioning, she's like, no, actually, they were at the movies, then they came back from the movies, so I fed them some leftovers that didn't have the mushrooms in it. So, because they didn't like mushrooms. And I'm like, this is feeling really, really, really suspect. Because I feel like the whole aspect of it being former, and then all these motherfuckers are just getting bodied. Maybe those grocery stores are just made up and you just found some death cap mushrooms. Something where it's like, if you are familiar with mushroom cooking, like, hey, this is a good mushroom, this is a bad mushroom, I feel like it is enough to tell, like, oh, I don't think this is the right mushroom. Like, this isn't a mushroom I normally am going to use for beef Wellington. You know what I mean? And you would at least Google it, look it up, something. And nope, she did not do that. No, she just, nope, I'm just going to go for it. It's because they were Asian mushrooms. That's what killed them. Like, no, dude, this just feels way more calculated to me. So I initially kind of let the story go when I first heard it. And I just heard more and more news places talking about it. And then finally I heard like Side Stories Last Podcast talk about it. And they were just like so blunt. And I was like, yeah, like I can't believe I just didn't like actually call the shit as it was. Like it's more than suspicious. It feels very direct, you know? That being said, they're still investigating. So, you know, any updates, I will definitely keep you posted here. But man, like that's crazy. Like, cause for me, I'm taking that bait. So, you invite me for lunch? You say there's beef Wellington? That's a dream come true. That's a dream lunch come true. I'm showing up to that. And you're telling me you're gonna take me out like that? I'm haunting you. I'm haunting you from beyond. I'm finding a way. Okay? You ain't seen Ghost yet? Psh, you about to see me. If you take me out like that, I'm gonna find you. Okay. That's all I got for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're awesome for that. You're the GOAT. If you'd like to support I cannot talk. I can never talk. I always just press play and just go blah, 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 blah. But yeah, if you'd like to support further, you want to be the GOAT Plus, patreon.com, so Isaiah News. You become a newsie. I say your name once a month because that's what I do for all my newsies. I shout you out. If there's a project, thing you're on, thing you'd like me to plug, that's the time I'm going to do that. That's the thing you get. Let's see. Free ways to hit me up. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Let's see. I'm on all the socials that you probably like. You can probably find me on one of them. Also, find me on the YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. All the thumbs up. All of the stars, depending on, you know, wherever you're listening to this. Comments are great. You're great. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a friend. And hopefully I'll see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.